All right. Most people are in, so I suggest we get started. My name is Tibor Lapikas. I am Delivery Director for Partners at Software Improvement Group. And today I will discuss with you how to manage your cybersecurity using a code level analysis. All right, so let's get started. Maybe you've attended the session by Alexander Heyers. He talked about process compliance in Polarion. What you see here, a little less highlighted, right? How to do compliance, how to do your TARA. What I would like to talk today is how to improve your code quality instead of just, let's say, detecting the risks and assessing the risks. How can you actually manage that and actually improve this? So I want to approach this from two angles. So first is really look at security vulnerabilities. Where can they occur? How can you find them in our platform? And how can you actually resolve them? And then I want to look a little broader and look at what do code quality and security vulnerabilities have to do with each other, and how can you take code quality into account to deliver a better product overall. Before I get started, I think it's good to introduce Sigrid and SIG a little bit. So SIG, also called the Software Improvement Group, is a software company which sells a product called Sigrid for software quality analysis. So what we do is we build a SaaS platform called Sigrid, which can analyze software on cybersecurity, on dependency security, but also on the overall quality, on reliability, on performance efficiency, and we do this all in one platform. And we do this based on an analysis of the source code itself. And that is a very important tenet, right? We want to look at the source code itself and see what kind of vulnerabilities can we detect over there. We are also an OEM supplier for Siemens, and we supply Sigrid together with Polarion as part of the accelerator platform, and we have built an integration where we supply the findings, such as cybersecurity findings, via an API to Polarion, where they can be used in the TARA environment. So what allows Sigrid you to do, and what level of depth does it give you apart from Polarion itself? Well, so first, I think it can introduce you to more traceability, because you can actually see where the issues are happening in your code. And is that, for example, a part of your code which is under construction? Is it already developed? What are the plans with it? Does it make sense from also a financial point of view to refactor it? Those are the things you can determine with Sigrid. It can also allow you to collaborate. So on one hand, you have people who are working with compliance. On the other part, you have the system managers, the developers who actually are working on this. And by using the combination of these systems, it will enhance the collaborations in your company. It's an open ecosystem, and we currently also are expanding, let's say, the capabilities that Sigrid offer to Polarion. So we see Sigrid as the guiding platform. So it's a platform which enables you to measure, evaluate, monitor, and improve your entire software landscape. So the way we normally approach this is that your whole software landscape will be put into this environment. You can assess the overall quality, overall cybersecurity, and based on the issues that you find there, you can start setting goals and start working toward those goals. And that is something that I will also show you. In the end, the goal is to have a healthy landscape, so to say. A landscape where the security issues, and you always will have some of them, but you at least won't have any high or critical issues anymore, which is maintainable, and where also reliability and your software supply chain is kept in check. As said, it's a SaaS platform, I think it's also important to stress it's a risk-based platform. So it's very easy to turn on any security scanner and get 1,000 findings. The question is, where should you start, right? Which findings are really important, and Sigrid can help you determine that. Another important point is that we provide valuable information for all levels in an organization. So from the developers to an enterprise architect to security specialist to portfolio manager, everybody can get their level of proper information there. So what kind of things should you think about? So if we go around the circle, so first we do vulnerability scanning, not only in the dependencies, so in the libraries that you use to build your software, but also in your own code, right? So with Secrets, you are able to analyze your own code and see, okay, what vulnerabilities do we have there and how should we respond to them? As said, it's integrated with Polarion. We support multiple standards, so we also support multiple security standards, whether it's OWASP or ISO 55 or later on AUTOSAR. Those kind of standards are integrated into the Secret platform, and you can use them to proper assess what do we want to be compliant on and how is our software currently looking. You can look at it from portfolio or system level. Pick the level that is important to you. I think that's also very relevant. It's risk-based. The build quality is actually benchmarked, so you can compare yourself with the overall quality in the market, which also help you set the goals. And we can develop SBOMs, right? So part, not the whole SBOM, but part of the SBOM or the findings in there will be sent to Polarion, and you can go to the Sigrid environment and generate that whole SBOM yourself. Why should you do this, right? So why should you invest in such a solution? What our experience is that if you have continuous quality and security monitoring, it will shorten your cycle time. The earlier you identify security issues, the easier it is to fix them. This will actually save you a lot of money and time if you, what we call shift left, detect those issues earlier in your process. We also integrate with CI/CD integrations such as Jenkins, Azure DevOps, GitLab, GitHub, to give developers even quicker feedback, where they can even see before committing a piece of code if this actually reaches the standards that have been set. And in the end, we offer one single source of truth, right? So your whole organization can be looking at one source of truth to be able to be compliant, keep the security issues in check without spending too much time actually finding and identifying them. So let's look at the first part of this, and that is actually the code improvement. So how does Sigrid detect vulnerabilities in your software supply chain, and how can you use our platform to actually resolve them? So let's start this movie. So what you see here is the portfolio view of our platform, Sigrid, and we have put open source software systems in there, which you can see below. And then let's go over that platform and see what you can actually see in here. What does it do, and what does it actually show to you, and how does it help you improve security? So the first thing we're going to do is click on open source health. So what you see here is the amount of systems which are in there. So 14 systems are currently being analyzed. And what we call open source health is actually the scan on all the libraries, all the dependencies in your system. And we actually analyze them risk-based. So we look at the risk that is in those libraries. And the main risk consists of 6 risks. So the first one is vulnerabilities, right? That's the most important one. Second one is also legal. So we look at licenses, for example. The third one is actually where we look at the freshness. How old is the library that you are actually using? Are you using the latest version or actually a very old version? We also look at stability. Are you using an alpha, beta, or an actual release version? Do you use a package manager? And is it actually actively maintained? Is the repository of that library actually actively maintained? So let's focus on vulnerabilities. Let's sort them by vulnerability, and we see actually 3 systems which have high-risk vulnerabilities in them. So let's see what we can find. So let's drill down into the system F prime. We click on it, and then it will open up the system page. So how many libraries do we have? So we have 48 libraries, and 3 of them have a high-risk vulnerability. So that's something we want to avoid. So let's see how we can resolve those issues. So again, what you see here is the export, right? So if you want to export an SBOM, you can do it here directly, and it will deliver either in Excel or in Cyclone DX format the SBOM to you. So you click on it, and we see indeed the 3 libraries who have a high-risk vulnerability in there. So let's see what it is. So let's click on the first one, cookie cutter. And this is your overview of the risks contained in that specific library, right? So what we indeed see here is that we have one vulnerability. And it's actually a pretty severe vulnerability because we get the CVSS score from the NIST and VD database. And as you can see here, that's actually a 9.8. So that is a very high score, 10 being the maximum. This would be called a critical vulnerability, so something you want to fix immediately. If you want, you can get more information by clicking the CVE link, which will link to the NIST database, where you can actually see what this issue actually means, maybe analyze if it's actually relevant to you. With critical things, I would say you need to fix it anyway, but if it's a lower rating, you can actually assess, does this actually impact our own security posture? But let's go back to Sigrid. So how could we resolve that? Well, so let's look at the freshness. So what we see is that the current version is from May 2021, but the latest version is from June last year. So it's very likely if you install that version that it will resolve the actual issue that you have. Okay, let's look at some other options here. Let's click the next one, and let's see what we see here. So here we also see a vulnerability. I see someone raised their hand, so thank you so much. I would like to take all the questions at the end. I can always open this back again. Thank you. So again, you see here that, and I quickly pause for a moment. So what you see here is there's one vulnerability. It's a little bit lower score. So the CVSS is a 7.5. And again, here you can see that probably by upgrading, you will resolve the issue. Right? Oh, I'm sorry, it jumped to the next one. All right, yes. Okay, let's move on. We've seen this one. But you can see here that the other issues risks are green. So let's maybe look at some other risks, right? So we've had a couple of vulnerabilities. Well, legal looks fine. We only see low risk issues here, and you can see what type of license is used. But let's look at the freshness, right? So here you see actually quite some libraries which are yeah, pretty old. So for example, here's one being used which is more than 18 years old. And usually we recommend that if a library is more than a year old and a new version is available, upgrade to the latest versions. Even if there are no vulnerabilities, they could occur, and the older library is, the more difficult also it will be to upgrade to a new version. So you can select all of them. So let's look at the last one, which is the activity. Is a library actually being actively maintained? So what we can see here with this library is that there has not been a release for over 2 years. And that's also an issue because if a vulnerability is found, who's going to fix it? How long will it take? So actually using this library is a risk by itself. And you might want to consider another library, or at least identifying this as a risk. All right, so we are back at the main screen, right, where we can see all together. So what you can also do is look at this from a portfolio perspective, right? So even if you have tens of systems in your portfolio, it's very easy to see where the issues are. You can export them to Excel to further analyze them, but I think Sigrid itself already has very good ways to analyze it. Now, you have analyzed it, but now you want to set some goals to make sure that it doesn't occur. So what you can do is per system, set a goal to make sure, hey, I do not want any issues in my dependencies which have a severity which is the same or higher than a high risk, right? And if you set that per system, and you can also set different levels per system, depending, for example, on the criticality, then Sigrid will report on this. And in the Sigrid environment, you can actually see which system is actually complying with that goal, right? So if you go to the main portfolio overview and you click on goals, then you will get the full overview. So let's set a goal for that system. So this was the end of the demo. So you are able per system to set goals and then set them, see them in the overview, and Sigrid will report on what is actually the quality per goal. All right, so this is handling supply chain security within the Sigrid environment. For the next demo, I do not have the time anymore to go fully through it, but I will show you some highlights. So apart from just looking at the security, we also look at build quality. So what is build quality? Build quality says something about your ability in your code base to actually improve the code, to resolve bugs, to introduce new features. We have a benchmark rating for that from 1 to 5 stars. And that really helps you also to set goals for where do you want to be with your maintainability. Because we also have a research department, and what we see is there is a relationship between the quality of the code and the amount of security findings. So if there are if the quality is higher, there usually are less security issues, and it's also easier to resolve them. If you have your code in Sigrid, if you use the integration with Polarion, this is something that you will get in the same package. You will get the open source health analysis and the maintainability. And this combination, I think, is a very strong combination, because you can improve your code and make sure that it's also safe and secure. And with that, there's much more to show in this platform. If you're interested, please let me know, and we can schedule you for a demo. But I have to round it off. Sigrid for advanced management of SBOM and cybersecurity integrates with your repositories. It covers all key roles, and it has a seamless integration with Polarion. So that's it from my side. You can contact me either via Siemens or directly, and we'd be happy to help you out. So with that, let's move on to the questions which I saw in the chat. So let me start answering them. Okay, so first question is from Rick Stroot, is where does the information about vulnerabilities come from? Is this a database maintained by Sigrid or a separate authority? So this is an external authority. So we mainly use the NVD database, which is by the NIST, which is an American governmental agency which keeps track of all these vulnerabilities. It's a reputable database, and we mainly enrich it, but that's the main source of the data. And of course, data stored in the repositories of the libraries themselves. Then I have another question, which I see here. If you are working only off source code, how do you manage the false positives? That seems to be one of the biggest hurdles in managing the volume of vulnerabilities that are mapped directly to the SBOM in source code without additional contextual data. Actually, indeed, a very good question. This is very easy to turn on security scanner and say, okay, we have 1,000 findings. What Sigrid tries to do is we have developers and consultants working within our company. And what we do is we enrich the security findings to reduce the amount of false positives. So we try to filter out false positives, which are always generated in the same way by the tooling. We filter them out. So that already really reduces the volume. Does it stop all false positives? No. We think that's impossible to achieve only by tooling. So what Sigrid does, and unfortunately the time is too short here, but Sigrid allows you to do a vulnerability management. So once a vulnerability is found, you can actually in the Sigrid environment analyze that finding. And if you say, hey, this is a false positive, it will be marked as such, and it will also stop showing up in the list and stop showing up as, for example, a critical vulnerability. If it's discovered again at the same place, Sigrid will know this and will not report it as a new issue. So initially, there will be some work in going through the issues, but once you've done that once, the amount of new issues will be relatively small and not cause any, let's say, a manageable workload. Yes. What information is synced to Polarion, and how is this information displayed in Polarion? Live reports, work items, documents. So the information that is synced is, you saw per system, you saw a list of libraries and their vulnerabilities. So this list of libraries, that is sent to Polarion, and as a sort of nested item, each library has a list of vulnerabilities in there. So that is what is sent to Polarion. I'm not a full Polarion expert yet, but I think it shows up as work items, which then can be, for example, attached to a Tara report. If you want to know more about this, I would strongly recommend you to watch or rewatch later the presentation by Alexander Heyers, where you can actually see the results of Sigrid in action in Polarion. So those were the questions in the chat. I saw one hand being raised, I think during the call. Maybe he or she could put the text in the chat, or maybe ask the question by voice. I got another question. Are the security measures mitigations also specified, addressed in SIG? That depends a bit on what you mean with the mitigations. Let's say if you decide to, for example, fix the issue, then you can mark it in SIG, right? And it will show up as this is an issue that we're gonna fix. will be off the list with, let's say, raw findings. If you really resolve the issue, well, then it will stop being detected. If you do something else outside of the source code to work around it, then Secret will not detect it. But as long as you do direct changes to the issue itself, it will be detected. I hope that answers your question. Okay, thank you. 2 minutes left. Any other questions so far? No? Um, I got one question. Does Sigrid also support automotive operating system vulnerabilities? Um, so to answer that questions, with operating system, as long as we can analyze the source code and it is written in C or C++, then yes, absolutely, we support vulnerabilities in there. Actually, I do think we have one of the best in market vulnerability scanners in Secret. So we have a really strong and powerful detection of vulnerabilities. And combined with the management, I think that allows you to really focus on the vulnerabilities that matter. Okay, thank you. Thank you all, and I hope to speak to you at a later moment.